speakers, and welcome to um, the virtual Vietnamese International Convention 2021. On behalf of the organizing committee, we would like to thank you for your participation and contribution to our annual convention's success. So we are Nguyen and Nguyen as the presentation's moderator today, and we are really happy to see all of you here. And we do hope that all of you will be leave the presentation today with valuable takeaways. And we are glad to welcome our presenters today, Associate Professor Hoa Nguyen and Dr. Ngọc Nguyen. Well, in 30 minutes oral presentation entitled The Enactment of Mental Balancing Act of Provoking Reflection and Providing Feedback to Pre-Service Teachers in Vietnamese Mentoring Conversations, a conversation analytic approach. Dr. Hang Nguyen is an associate professor in the School of Education, University of New South Wales, Sydney. She specializes in teacher education, teacher development, mentoring, TESOL, and social cultural theory. Dr. Ngọc Nguyen is a lecturer of English at Hanoi College, Commerce and Tourism. Her research interests include doctoral supervisory talk, classroom interactions, and mentoring talk in Vietnamese EFL teacher education. Currently, Dr. Ngọc Nguyen is investigating the Vietnamese mentoring conversations using a conversation analysis approach as her main research method. Please welcome Associate Professor Hoa Nguyen and Dr. Ngọc Nguyen.
Thank you, Luan. Thank you, Luan. Thank you, everyone, very much for joining us today. So I would like to say hello from Sydney. So I am in Australia. And before we start our presentation, we would like to acknowledge the traditional custodian of the land that I'm joining you from. So I would like to acknowledge the Wangan people that are the traditional custodian of the land that I'm joining you from. I pay my respect to the elders past, present, and I would like to extend that respect to other Aboriginal Torres Strait Islander who are present online here today. So thank you, everyone, for joining us today. Ngọc, would you like to share the slide? Yes, so before we present our presentation, we'd like to introduce ourselves as Dr. Luan Nguyen have just mentioned. I've been working at the University of New South Wales, but some of you here know that I was born and educated in Vietnam, and I used to be a lecturer at ULIS, Vietnam National University. So for the topic today, we would like also, it's my great pleasure to have here with you, with my friend and my colleagues, Dr. Ngọc Nguyen as well. So we'd like to share with you our research topic about mentoring conversation. It's so different from other research I have been doing in the context of Vietnam. For this research, we do a different research methodology. So I'm very excited to share with you our initial finding today. So for our presentation today, would you like to share this? Yes, for our presentation today, we focus on the four main points. Firstly, we would like to present some of the research problem, the rationale why we do our research, and we briefly describe our research, and we will present the initial findings. At the end, we will conclude our presentation by discuss some of the findings and put forward some of the implications. As you all be aware that there is a call for changes and reform in initial teacher education because the quality of teacher is so important for education. And at the moment now, it's not only in Vietnam, but also in many other countries, people are talking, and many researchers talking a lot about how to prepare a teacher to be a reflective practitioner. And I'm sure that here you all agree with me that practicum is a very important factor in initial teacher education. I have been studying a lot with the pre-service teacher, and when I ask them what is the most practical component of your teacher your teacher education program. And most of the research participants, they come back and tell me that the practicum is very important, because the practicum is where they start learning, they start teaching the student, and learn how to teach, how to improve their practice in school. So practicum is very important. However, the practicum has received criticism. One of which is the lack of opportunity to develop mentoring reflective practice. And that's the reason why there's many study in the literature has called for more study in terms of practicum, how pre-service teacher learning, and more study about mentoring practice, because during the practicum, the mentor play very important role. Mentoring highly or widely recognized as a critical component to support pre-service teacher learning. However, from my own research and from many other researchers in the world, that practicum is not always truthful. It's not always truthful. I still remember that I interviewed one Vietnamese pre-service teacher in one of my studies a couple of years ago, and then that pre-service teacher come back and tell me, "Wow, I didn't learn anything from my mentor at school, because I started my practicum there, and I have to follow what the school mentor tell me to do." So the mentoring is important. Is practical. It's important for our pre-service teacher, but mentoring is not always truthful. So we need to have a further study to understand the mentoring practice. So that's the reason why we are so interested to see how the mentoring really happened in the context of Vietnam, and how the mentor conduct a mentoring conversation as well, to balance the reflection and providing feedback. Yes, so based on the literature review, we identify 4 major gaps that leading to our research. The first gap, as I mentioned earlier, that we need to have a further study to enhance the quality of mentoring in initial teacher education program in Vietnam. But I just want to emphasize that not only in Vietnam, but in many other countries in the world, that we need to enhance the mentoring practice. And another gap is that there is no study. There are some studies, they look at the mentoring context in Vietnam, and I'm sure that you may be aware that I did a lot of study about that topic, but there's no study, as we know so far, to look at how mentoring process impacts on pre-service teacher reflection in initial teacher education in the context of Vietnam, in FL context of Vietnam. And another gap is that there's no conversational analysis studies explore how the balance between provoking reflection and providing feedback is interactionally produced and managed in the real time. Despite there's many conversational study on mentoring, and again, another gap is that using the data of Vietnamese is a really under researched language in the conversational analysis study. So we hope that we can make a contribution to a growing body of cross-cultural conversational analysis research into this area. So we are interested to finding the answer to this research question. Question number 1, how do mentors balance between provoking reflection and providing feedback in mentoring conversation? And the second question is, what interactional resources are employed by mentors to achieve such a dedicated balance between reflection and providing feedback? For our study, we use a conversational analysis methodology, which, as I mentioned earlier, that is very different from other studies that I've been doing in the context of Vietnam, where I collect data from interview, from reflection, but in this one, we collect data from mentoring conversation. So we analyze data from 18 audio recorded mentoring conversation, and the participant for our study is 7 mentors and 18 pre-service teachers. The research context is that all of our pre-service teachers, they do a practicum in school, and the school mentor go and observe their lesson. And after that, they provide feedback. So we call mentoring conversation. So we just look at 18 mentoring conversation to see how do they balance between reflection and providing feedback. Yes. So again, I just want to emphasize that we use CA, because the CA is a bottom-up method that we're looking at the naturally occurring conversation. We are interested in investigate what and how people actually say and do in interaction, not what they think they say or do on reflection. So it's just, I just want to emphasize, so different from other research. They interview them, they want to know what they think. But this study, we look at the authentic conversation to see what they are doing, and we see that where is the event, where are the resources they use in order to balance between reflection and providing feedback. So that is something that we hope we can find out that is so different from other study. So now I would like to hand over to my colleague, Dr. Nguyen, who will present the data.
Thank you very much, Hoa, for introducing me. Hello, everyone. So in this part of my presentation, I will be briefing you on our analysis steps and some initial findings. So as Hoa mentioned earlier, CA is a bottom-up method. So with the first step, we started with an unmotivated looking, which means that we listen repeatedly to the audio recording of the interactional phenomenon without any hypothesis. And what really struck us at this stage is the way mentors provide feedback to reserved students. So this leads us to make a data set or collection of mentor-initiated feedback sequences, and we have 109 sequences. In step 3, we examine the data set in detail, including all the features of CA analysis, such as like pause or gap or sequence turn design, how participants design their turn to achieve what they want in the interaction. In step 4, we uncover patterns across the data set, and in this particular study, we uncover practices that mentors employ to achieve such a delicate balance. And in the final step, we relate the mentor practices to the existing literatures on mentors' institutional tasks. So now let me move to the first practice that mentor use. So it is overtly inviting reflection and pursuing responses. So to do this happened in the first turn and normally at the onset of the mentoring conversations. To do this, mentor mainly use questions such as, what do you think about the lesson? How did you think the lesson went yourself? And to pursue responses, questions are used to help mentors to reflect more on the practices they use. Some interactional outcomes refer to the in this case, by overtly inviting reflection and pursuing response, mentors create opportunities for reserved teachers to reflect at different levels. And in response to this, reserved teachers tend to self-deprecate, and their self-assessments seem to negative, directed, and subjective. For example, they may say they're not satisfied or they feel the lessons are ineffective. This leads me to the practice to so in response to reserved teachers' self-deprecation, mentors tend to misaligning with this attitude. So in the sequence, the misalignment is done in response to reserved self-deprecation. To misalign with reserved teachers' self-deprecation, mentors use some emphatic constructions, such as, I didn't realize any problems, or some hedging like I think or I have a feeling that. By misaligning with vis-a-vis teacher self-deprecation, mentor actually create a relaxing, friendly environment, which finally encourage vis-a-vis teachers to reflect on their teaching performance, so they feel more comfortable, and they are actually encouraged to share with the mentors why they feel that way about their lessons or what they shouldn't have done during their observed lessons, or what changes they could make in similar situations for future teaching. And another practice we would like to share today is mental shortening critical assessments. So actually this happened in different positions. It may happen as preface to feedback, or it may be given after feedback is provided. Similar as practice 2, some of the resources are used include emphatic constructions, such as this is such a small issue, or there's some very small issue to note, such as. And one of the common resources are used is emphatic negative declarative sentences, such as this is not a big problem just because we are inexperienced or there was no problem. Mentors also resort to what we Pomerans call extreme case formulations. So I'm just giving one typical example. We always face such difficulties when start teaching. So in saying this, mentors are orienting to the asymmetries in experience. They position pre-service teachers as novice teachers, and the result is mentors can reduce the tension in feedback giving, reported quite popular in mentoring, and also encourage pre-service teachers to get involved more in the interaction. So due to the time constraint, I'm going to share with you one extract in our data set. So yes, so this extract is occurs at the beginning of a conversation between a mentor and pre-service teacher whose name is Ling. So before let you listen to the extract, I would like to alert you to the transcription of CA. So in CA we call this 3-line transcription, with the first one is Vietnamese talk, the second line is word by word translation, and the last one is semantic translation. And now let's listen to 1 minute talk.
Bây giờ khổ chủ không hiểu ý kiến. Ôi em lúc đầu thì em bảo là em chữa ký từ mới ạ, em check ký từ mới luôn lên trên bảng, thế nhưng mà lúc gì em lại quên mất. Em thấy thiếu bình tĩnh quá.
Có vấn đề gì cô thì thấy em lại rất là bình tĩnh.
Thế à con?
Cô không nhận thấy điều gì cả.
Thế à con? Ui em thấy mất bình tĩnh lắm ấy ạ. Thế là em quên mất check tiếng Việt cho học sinh.
Cái này á?
Vâng ạ. Check những cái cụm này ạ. Em định em check những cái cụm này tiếng Việt cho học sinh. Thế nhưng mà em lại quên mất, em lại chuyển sang luôn cái phần này. Thế là lúc gì xuống hỏi, khi mà em cho chúng nó mở sách ấy, em hỏi chúng nó là thế còn từ mới nào không ở trong sách không, thì chúng nó lại bảo không có từ mới nào. Nhưng mà khi cho chúng nó viết thì xuống bài kiểm tra chúng nó thì chúng nó lại hỏi là cô ơi, từ này là gì. Thế em mới bảo là sao không hỏi ngay lúc bấy giờ, xong mà toàn đứa bảo là em ngại.
Rồi thường học sinh sẽ ngại.
Vâng. Thế là em trước cả lớp em bảo là em rút kinh nghiệm lần sau em sẽ kiểm tra luôn nghe tiếng Việt.
So as you can see here, for the purpose of analysis, we omit 20 lines of transcription from like 12 to 30. So as we can see here, the mentor starts the sequence by overtly inviting reflection. And this is the effect can be seen in Ling's response from line 3 to line 6. In which Ling reflected on her lesson. And if we notice in line 7, Ling say, I feel so nervous, acknowledging her feelings self-deprecating. In response to this, mentor in line 8 saying, there was no problems. I could see you were very calm. And again, in line 10, she said, I didn't realize any problem. So we call this misaligning with vis-a-vis teachers, self-deprecation. And these two practices are proved to work to provoke reflection. In line 31 to line 34, when Link continued to reflect to explain what really happened in her lesson. And not until line 37 did the mentor make a suggestion and also agreed with Link's proposal for future action. So we can see here that mentor's suggestion in line 38 is co-constructed between mentor and vis-a-vis teachers. We say co-construction because it is initiated, it is invited by the mentor, but the problem is realized, problematized by Link. And also we have the co-construction towards so the succession is built up. And this brings us to some final thoughts and conclusion. In responding to our two research questions, with the research question ones, we examine three main mentor practices. The first one is overtly inviting reflection and pursuing responses. The second practice involves misaligning with vis-a-vis teacher self-deprecation. And the third practice is shortening critical assessments. To do these practices to help with achieve a delicate balance between provoking and providing feedback, mentors deploy some interactional resources, some of which we want to highlight involve questions, emphatic expressions, extreme case formulations, and some hedgings. This brings me to the next. Our findings suggest that reflection mentoring training for mentors may need to be incorporated into teacher education program, and we can do this by adopt what we call conversation analysis role-play model. Specifically, mentors can be trained how to effectively employ interactional resources to balance their institutional tasks, and some techniques can be trained, such as questioning techniques and also giving wait time to vis-a-vis teachers. And we can see that creating opportunities for vis-a-vis teachers to think, question, and make changes is really important to ensure both the frequency and quality of reflection. Finally, our findings are caught with careful scaffolding and practicing reflective thinking strategies for both vis-a-vis teachers and mentors. So this brings me to the end of our presentation. Thank you very much for listening, and we are happy to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Juan, for your insightful presentation. So I have collected a few questions. The first one, one participant sent a private message. From your perspective, to what extent do you think the mentoring process in Vietnam is effective to preserve teachers' professional becoming? And what are your suggestions for positive changes in this regard?
Thank you for the question. It's a very interesting question. I guess that we may do another big project and some other PhD topic to answer that question. But anyway, I really like the question, and I think that it's not the finding, the implication is not only from my study, from the study we presented today, but from my own study. I think that there's many suggestions that can help to improve the mentoring practice in the context of Vietnam. Firstly, that we need to have a training for the mentor, for the school mentor, because when we talk about mentoring, but maybe the people there, the people, the teacher, or even the university lecturer, we need to have a clear understanding what it means by mentoring as well. That is the first thing, is the training. The second thing is that we need to have a recognize the role of the mentor in educating pre-service teacher. Because at the moment in Vietnam, the teacher education in Vietnam all happen. University control most of the things. University offer the program. There is a lack connection with the school and with the community. So I guess that they need to have some kind of radical change in order to improve the mentoring practice. That we need to see the mentor, the school mentor there is the teacher educator. They are teacher educator, and how do they work with you as a university lecturer to educate our pre-service teacher? So that is another. We have a lot of implication from a policy, from practice as well. But basically, I guess that we need to reconceptualize mentoring in the context of Vietnam, reconceptualize the role of university in preparing future teacher as well. And of course, I just want to share with you that it is the same context in Australia. We still got a problem with mentoring in Australia as well. And we have to offer a lot of training. So we call the school and university partnership, in which we try to provide a mentor training for teacher in school. Hopefully that they can provide support, effective mentoring for our pre-service teachers. So that is there are some of the idea. I'm sure that if you follow my research, you can know more about what I propose. But I'm looking forward to have a further discussion. Yes.
Yep. Another questions from the chat box. From Gado. Just curious about if you found any impacting factors coming from schools, from principals or head teachers.
Yes, we have to do another research to find that to find the answer for that question. But from my own research, I think that the principal and the school culture play critically important role to help our pre-service teacher feel welcome, a part of the community. Because one of the issue facing pre-service teacher is that when they start the practicum in school, they feel like they are students, but we need to treat our pre-service teacher as a beginning teacher. So again, all about belief and reconceptualize their role. So yes, the principal and the school mentor is a very, very important, because one of my research I did in the context of Australia. The school offer kind of mentoring program for our pre-service teacher, and welcome them and provide them opportunity to do some project, do some team teaching. I mean like a different initiative by the school really impact on how they learn, how they develop their professional practice in school. Yeah.
Yeah, there's one more question, but yeah, so Dr. Ngọc Nguyen, you raise your hand.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you for the questions. I just want to follow up with what Hoa just mentioned. So maybe it's in response to the first questions of, like making changes to mentoring. So what we really hoped in with our study is we can examine the real practices in the real time, and sharing with mentors and also pre-service students. What we can do is you can use conversation analysis role model. We can play the recordings, and we can stop for mentors and pre-service teachers discuss together what practices, what really happened at that particular moment in the interaction, and what happens and what is the outcome of such practices or of such interactional resources, to show evidence of what really works and what doesn't work. Yes, so that's what our study can bring about in terms of practice. Thank you very much.
Yeah, that's true, Ngọc. It's just a questioning technique can be one of the implications from our current study we presented today. And conversational role play in the conversation, because from all the conversation we collected, we can see a lot of conversation between the school mentor and pre-service teacher in the context of Vietnam. Normally, the school mentor, they just start the conversation by, oh, you wrong, you do this one wrong, you do that one not right. It's not kind of the question to provoke the reflection. But what the data we present today is just some of the structure in the mentoring conversation we think that really provoke the reflection and provide the balance between reflection and feedback. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much for your further insightful answers, Juan. Now, we have no time now, so we move to the closing ceremony. But Julie, would you please email our speakers today, Associate Professor Hoa Nguyen and Dr. Ngọc Nguyen, for your questions here? I am sorry that we have no time, so that speaker cannot answer the questions here. So you can email our speakers today. On behalf of VIC 2021, so we would like to wish you all the best. And this session is the end of our convention. Thank you so much for your participation and contribution. Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you, Luan.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.